the story of Avram arguing with Sodom and Gomorrah, I want to start with chapter 19, when the two angels came to Sodom in the evening. Chapter 19, verse 1. Vayavo shnei malachim stoma ba'erev. And two angels came to Sodom in the evening. Lot Yoshev b'shar Sodom. Lot was sitting in the gates of Sodom. Vayar Lot, and Lot saw Vayakam across them, and he got up to greet them. Vayishtachu apayim arza, and he bowed down to the ground. So let's see what Rashi says about this. So who are these two angels? Why do you need two angels? So we start off the parasha with three angels. Who are the three angels at the start of the parasha? The three angels at the start of the parasha were Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel. Raphael was to heal Avram. Michael was to give them the good news about having a child. And Gabriel was to destroy Sodom. So now, why do we need two angels here? So Rashi says, because also the problem is, when they actually did the destruction, it says Vayafoch in the singular. So why does it say here too? So Rashi tells us, Echad hashli says Sodom, one to destroy Sodom, Echad hatzilas Lot, and one to save Lot. The same one who came to heal Avram was saving Lot. Who is that? His name is Raphael. Vashlishi, and the third angel who visited Avram, Shabbat Vasera Sarah, who came to tell us that Sarah is going to give birth, and that is Michael. Once he carried out his mission, Nistaliko, he departed, did not accompany the other two to Sodom. So, okay. Hamelachim, two angels. Ulahalan. So now we have another question. The beginning of the parasha, it calls these people the men. Shlosha nashim nitavim alav. But now it calls them melachim. So how come above they're called men and now they're called angels? So Rashi tells us, imayim karam anashim. The first answer is that when they came to visit Abraham, God was there. So out of respect for God, it refers to them as men vis-a-vis God and not as angels. But now that they're dealing just with Lot and God's presence is not there, therefore they're elevated, they're called angels. That's the first answer. Yeah. God's presence is everywhere, but God's presence is more manifest when in a prophecy. Right, so that's what it says. The Vayera elav Hashem. Abraham was in the middle of a prophetic vision when he saw the men. So vis-a-vis God, they were men. Vis-a-vis Lot, they were angels. Alternatively, it wasn't about God. It was about it wasn't about the contrast between God and man. It was about the contrast between Abraham and Lot. An alternative answer is Eitzel Avraham Shekol Gadol Vayu Amoachim Tedirin Etzlo Kanashim Karam Anashim Eitzel Lot Karam Achim. The alternative answer is vis-a-vis Abraham, who often had angels visiting him. So Abraham had a lot of great spiritual power. So therefore, these angels vis-a-vis Abraham were called men. He was frequently with them. But vis-a-vis Lot, with whom they were not common, we found he calls them angels. We're in chapter 19, verse 1. And it says that they came to Sodom in the evening. What took them so long? Rashi wants to know. They were in Hebron. How do you know that they were in Hebron? because he was in the plains of Mamre. So that's in Hebron. And it's not so long to go. They came to Abraham in the middle of the day, which is Kechol Mayom. And so even after their meal, they could have easily made it from Hebron to Sodom before evening. And they could have done it instantly. They're angels. So what took them so long? So Rashi says, they were angels of mercy. Umamtinim, and they were delaying. They were delaying lest, hey, Tom. They were hoping Abraham would find a defense for them. So they took their time going there to allow Abraham to maybe come up with a way to protect them. Chapter 19 of Bereshit, chapter 19, verse 1. Chapter 19, verse 1. Hey, Daniel. What? Everything is good. Everything is good. Was the Baron Academy tournament? No. Never heard of it. Yeah. So we're chapter 19, verse 1. The Lot Yoshev Bashar Sodom. Lot was sitting at the gates of Sodom. Rashi tells us, Yashav Ksiv. It says Yashav, meaning he sat. So it means to say, Oso Hayom Minu Shofet al Shoftim. That day, Lot was appointed the judge over the other judges. Meaning to say, he had just sat down. He had just been appointed chief judge. So Lot was the chief judge of Sodom, which doesn't bode well for him. Why is he being appointed chief judge? What does this add to the story? What does this midrash add to the story? That Lot was the chief judge? What's it adding to the story? Yeah, exactly.
He wasn't the right man for the job.
Well, the Maharal says that it's to tell us that even though he was the chief judge, they show no respect for the judge and were willing to go around his house and attack him, even though he was a chief judge. That's the point. Even though he was the chief judge, nobody was safe from the mob. Vayera Lot saw them, and he got up to greet them, and he bowed down to the ground. Whereas by Avram, it says he saw and he ran to greet them. Here it just says he got up to greet them. But Rashi takes this as positive. How did Lot know how to do this? Rashi says he learned this from Abraham, Mi Beit Avraham. He learned from Abraham to be hospitable, to seek out guests. Verse 2, Vayomer hine na Adonai, suru na al beis avdachem. And so he said, hine na Adonai, please my Lord, suru na al beit avdachem. Please turn to your servant's house, velinu v'rachatzu raglechem, and stay here and wash your feet. Vishkamtem v'alachtem l'darkechem. And you wake up early and you'll go on your journey. Vayomer lo kibrachol nilin. They said, we'll stay in the street. But let's look what he said. He said, first, come to your servant's house, sleep, then wash your feet, and then you'll get up and you'll go. What's the difference between what Lot said and what Abraham said? Remember, what did Abraham say? Go back to what Abraham first says to them. Look at the difference. Abraham sees them and he says, first stay. Then he says, I'm going to give you a little bit of water, wash your feet, stay under the tree, and then I'll give you some food and you'll eat, and then you can go. Lot does not offer them food, and he doesn't offer them water. He just says, go to sleep now, wash your legs, and then you'll leave in the morning. Doesn't offer them food. Let's see what Rashi says. Hine na Adonai, please, my lords. So he says, Rashi says literally means, Hine na atem Adonim le'achar she'avartem elai. You are my Lord since you've come my way. Alternatively, he was warning them, because it's a strange expression. Hine na Adonai, behold now my Lord. So Rashi says, he's warning them that these people in the town are wicked. Be very careful that they don't notice you. He was giving them a secret way to get to his home. Rashi says in the next, and this is based upon the Gemara, he says, Suruna al Beit Avdechem, turn away to my house. Rashi says, Akmu esaderech beisi, go in a secret way to my house. Hold on 1 second.
That's not positive, Rabbi, to offer them like a way to come to my house because these people are evil. Like
That is positive, but yeah, so he's saying that's a positive thing. That he's saying you have to sneak your way to my house. Derech HaKalton, by a roundabout way. Shelo yakiru, so they shouldn't notice. Shatem nichnasim sham, that they're going in there. So therefore it says, turn around. Linu, yeah, that is a positive thing. It says, Linu v'rachatzu raglechem. So this is, Rashi points out what I said before. It says, V'chidarkon shel b'nei adam la'alun tchila. Do people first go to sleep? V'achar kach l'rachotz, goes take a shower and bathe. They go to sleep and then bathe? No. You should have done it afterwards. Abraham said, Rachatzu raglechem, wash your feet. So why is he saying go to sleep and then wash your feet? So to tell us, Kacha Marwot, this is what we're saying. Im kishiyavo levesi, when you come to my house, Omer miyad, say to them, I'll tell them immediately. Lot said to himself, when they come to my house, I'll tell them right away, wash your feet. So when kishiyavo anshe Sodom, when the people of Sodom will come, and they'll see that they already washed their feet, Yalilui. If I'll tell them to wash my feet right away, and then the people come, they'll say, oh, look, you've had them there a long time. They've been 2 or 3 days in your house. At the time, you didn't, and you never told us. Therefore, I'll keep them here with the dust on their feet. And that way, they look like they just came. Therefore, he said, he said, sleep here and then bathe. It was all a subterfuge to escape. Okay, then it states, Vayomru lo. So they said to the angels, said to Lot, no, Ki barachov ne'lin, we'll sleep in the street. So Rashi tells us, but to Avram they agreed. And this is the same Rashi had earlier, that you're allowed to refuse a small man, but not a big man. To Abraham they couldn't refuse, but to a great man, but to a small man like Lot, they were able to refuse. So, okay, the next verse says, verse 3, Vayivtzar ba'ma'od, and he urged them very much, Vayasuru love, and they turned towards him, Vayavo al-beiso, and they came to his house, He made them a drink and matzot, and he baked them and they ate. What does it mean? They turned to him. So they did this roundabout way. Matzot afar, Rashi tells us Pesach haya. It was Pesach. Okay, now I want to stop here. Why is this holiday taking place on Pesach? Why is this holiday taking place on? Why is this scene taking place on Pesach? What's the message here? Why does this story have to take place on Pesach? Is just the rabbis coming up with crazy midrashim? Obviously,
redemption is always on Pesach, right?
What? What'd you say?
Redemption is always on Pesach, just like
So where's the redemption here?
because saving him.
So,
I don't remember the whole song, but it's in Nirtza on Pesach. We talk about all kinds of things that Torah does not tell us it was Pesach, but the rabbis do.
right. Okay, so that's very nice. That's very nice. Basically, the idea is that Lot was saved in that night, and therefore the rabbi is associated with Pesach. Also, it says matzot. Matzot means bread, but it means the bread of redemption. Another idea here is that from this story, who's born from this story? Who comes out of this story? Yeah, the Mashiach comes out from this story. This is a story that we learn from here. We learn from here that this is the story. Maybe the same night it was Pesach, and so that same night was the conception of the eldest girl's daughter, son. And who was the eldest of Lot's daughter? Who did she give birth to? She gave birth to Moab. And Moab is the father of David, or the father of Ruth, and Ruth comes from Moab. So we see from here, and David comes from Ruth. So this is the story of redemption, that David is born from this moment. And that's a powerful idea, that this is a redemption story. That's why the Chazal wants to, here, right here, Kobe, beautiful. Eric should congratulate Eitan and his basketball team. Went all the way to California, and they made it almost to the finals. But they represented the area very well, very proud. And they would have won the whole thing, but the other team cheated. I put that on YouTube for everyone to see. The other team the refs were biased. The refs were biased. A known fact. They kept calling offensive fouls.
Sure, on Izzy.
On Izzy. They kept calling offensive fouls on Izzy. And obviously, it was not a foul.
Yes.
Okay, anyway, just putting that out there. All right, so that's why we say it was Pesach. I think two reasons. One, Lot was saved, but also because Moab was born in that night, and Moab was the father of David. So, okay. So now the pasuk tells us, Taram Yishkavu, they lay down, but right when they lay down, or even before they lay down, Taram, prior to them laying down, Va'anshe Sodom, Va'anshe Ayir, Anshe Sodom, Nasobu Alabayit, the people of the town, the people of Sodom, gathered around the house, Minar Ve'atzakein, from young to old, Kol Ami Kotzeh, all the people from the end. So everybody gathered around the house. They hadn't even laid down. So the Midrash tells us about this as follows. Hello, Aviva, good afternoon. So Taram Yishkavu, before they lay down, the Anshe Ayir, the townspeople, Ayil Bufiyam Shal Malachim, were the angel, where everybody were speaking, were spoken of by them. Shayu Shalom Lot, they were asking Lot, Ma Tivam, tell us about these people. And he would say to them, Rubam Risham, most of them are wicked. And they were still talking, and the people gathered. And all the people from one end of the city to the other, what is there? there was nobody who protested against these people converging on the house. I feel tzaddik echad imam. There was not even one righteous person. So now we get to a very controversial verse. What was the sin of the Sodomites? If you go through a lot of Christian interpretations of the Bible, they'll say that the sin was homosexuality. That's what they'll say. And they'll base it on this verse. So where are these people? Called the Lord and they said, where are these people? Let them come out to us so we can know them. And it says, B'mishkav zachar, but they wanted to know them in the sexual manner. They wanted to have homosexual relations with them. So Christian exegesis assumed that this was the sin of Sodom was the sin of homosexuality. But I want to emphasize that that's not the rabbinic interpretation. It's actually completely not the rabbinic interpretation. I'm not saying that the Torah does not allow homosexuality, but that is not what the sin of Sodom was. So Sodom wanted to, sexually assault these men, which is, okay, for sure, a sin, but sexual assault is in the Torah just a regular prohibition. According to the rabbis in the Gemara, the reason why Sodom was destroyed was because of what sin?
Hospitality.
Riba achat, the cries of riba achat, which a young maiden's cries when they tortured her and they spread honey on her and they put her on the roof and the bees attacked her. And that was the sin of Sodom, not the sin of that's what caused the tipping point for them to be destroyed. Not the sin of homosexual rape. So this idea of homosexuality is the sin of Sodom, and that's where you get sodomy, and that's not the rabbinic explanation. That's not the rabbinic interpretation of the story. I also want to say parenthetically, maybe Rabbi Yosef could help us with this. Rabbi Yosef. So the word for jam in Hebrew is, how do you say jam in Hebrew? No, that's a traffic jam. But I'm saying like jelly. The word for jam or jelly is riba.
Riba, right.
Riba. And so some say that Ben Yehuda was a genius, absolute genius, but some say that this was a mistake of Ben Yehuda, that he took this story where he talked about a riba in the Talmud, a young woman, and the story was that they put jam on her, and he misread the story as the riba was not the woman, not the young girl, but the jam. And that's why riba in Hebrew became jam. Of course, if you're going to basically reinvent the language from scratch, you're going to make some mistakes. And don't get me wrong, Ben Yehuda was an absolute genius, absolute genius. And he knew the Talmud and he knew the Midrashim, he knew it all. But of course, you're going to create every work of genius, you're going to have some mistakes. So that was
There's a Mishnah that says, "My riba mirkachat."
What? What'd you say?
Talmudic quote, "My riba," which means what did they include, and it says riba mirkachat, and he misunderstood it. But yeah, but that's why he added that word as jam. But
Yeah. So the girl was punished by the people of Sodom because she was doing hospitality, and then they tortured her, and she cried out to heaven, and so therefore that led to the assault. That led to the sealing of the decree. That's what it's. And Rashi quotes that also. I think Rashi quotes. Rashi says. Abayalai, Darshu, Hakitzakata. Our rabbis expounded the word Hakitzakata, Tzakat Ribachat, the cry of a girl. Shargum Mitam Mishuna, they killed with a grisly death. Al Shenatnu Mazon Lani, and she gave food to a poor person in Chelek. So Sakat Riba. So he heard it, he understood it as the cry of, but Riba means they're the young girl, and he translated it as jelly. Anyway, just goes to show you, you do enough of something, you'll make a mistake. Okay, so anyway, that's the whole controversy, but the Talmud never talks about Sodom in that manner. So it's a Christian interpretation. In fact, when I was the only time I went through like yeshiva and everything, the only time I started talking about I started thinking about the Sodom being destroyed because of homosexuality was when I read a Christian's writing on homosexuality in the Bible, and he had a whole chapter proving that the sin of Sodom was not homosexuality. And I said, wait, who said it is? Because I had only known the rabbinic perspective. So that's one of the that book, by the way, is an excellent book by John Boswell. I don't know if anybody had ever heard of it.
What's it called?
John Boswell, Boswell. What?
I've heard of it.
Oh,
I don't know.
well, you should read these books by John Boswell. If you haven't read them, they're two tremendous books. The first one is, I think you can look it up. I think it's homosexuality in the Bible, or medieval interpretation. I don't know, just look it up, whatever the title is. I mean, I read these books 30 years ago. And the other one is The Lost Children. John Boswell, Boswell. I think he's a medieval scholar.
American historian and full professor at Yale.
Yeah, but what are the titles of the books? One is the homosexuality in the Bible or medieval interpretation, and the other is The Lost Children.
Christianity, social tolerance, and homosexuality.
No. So maybe that is it.
I shared the Rashi that talks about that.
The kindness of strangers, the abandonment of children in Western Europe from late antiquity.